There it is. This is going to be a good match, Greetor.
Game 1, Fnatic Fenix against
awesome.
Grubby. Indeed.
Grubby.
Indeed. Indeed.
GG!
Indeed.
GG! GG!
Yell it. Yell it as loud as you can.
No, I'm not going to. Well,
no, it's good now. It's good now.
That's what they tell you.
Kiwi
Joke's
Kaki.
on you, buddy.
Kiwi Kaki. Excuse me. No.
Get professional.
Alright, I'm trying,
No, I'm
bruh.
just kidding. Don't do that.
I'm trying. I know. I wasn't planning on it. But we have Grubby versus Fenix on Shattered Temple. Our first match starting up. And is going to be Terran versus Protoss on Shattered Temple.
Yep. We have the blue Terran, Fnatic Fenix, teammate of Greetor. We'll get to hear some inside information about how he likes to play. In the top right-hand position, so you'll note, first thing and foremost, it is close position, so it looks like we weren't able to get a hold of all the team leaders to update these maps just yet, so I know there's a collective groan going out from the entire internet, and for that I apologize, but please do bear with us, guys. We will fix that, and also just know, while it is not as optimal as we'd like it to be, there are tournaments that face these difficulties. I, as a player, over the years have played close positions, balanced maps, etc. So it is something we are used to facing. Now, in the southern, or 6 o'clock position, we do have the green Protoss, Grubby from Team Grubby. And actually, Greetor, you told me he's talking to people about joining his team.
He might be. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
You know, I'm sure he's looking.
Grubby
Look
Greetor,
for one.
Grubby?
No. Well, I'm not good enough, bruh.
Well,
I'm not good enough to be in the Grubby team.
All right, well, tell me about Fenix, because in week number 1 against Kiwi Kaki, again, one of the most fearsome opponents, according to him, in this entire division, he played phenomenal. He did a quick medevac, expanded each time, and just with good, strong bioplay and strong harass via the dropship, he was able to overcome a tough adversary.
Yeah, I mean, Fenix does like the hyper-aggression. It worked very well in Kiwi Kaki. Although Kiwi Kaki, he didn't have a lot of tech last time. He really wasn't going to huge... Yeah, he was going for more of the gateway army composition. And when you're still on gateway armies and you're going up against any sort of medevac play, it becomes excessively hard to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're going to see a much different game, as Grubby likes that tech. He likes to get the 2 base and then just tech all over the place. And it's going to be a lot harder for Fenix to keep up his huge aggressive play.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, Fenix is getting that fairly early gas, something we've seen him do a few times. He's actually open up even 1-1-1. I know that he likes harass, like with the Marauder. We do have a Marine being constructed immediately off this gateway. Now, Grubby, on the other hand, is going for the very standard, just single gateway Cybernetics core. His second gas, if it were to come up, will be up at like 19, 20, or 21, somewhere there and abouts. Anything earlier or later would be just strange, and we don't have either of those going on. Slight buffer of Chrono Boost, but that could, again, just not necessarily mean anything. Now, in these close positions with PVT, and second barracks is going down for Fenix, just worth to note there, and a tech lab going on, so look like some bio opening here. Like we've kind of both said, Grubby, a little bit more of an unknown. He is a little bit newer to the scene, hasn't had as much experience. We haven't seen as many of his games, but we know that he likes kind of the timing stuff, Dark Templar. And again, okay, so here we go, late gas. Just sticking on the 1 gas, and interestingly to note, Fenix sees this, and actually look at Grubby. Right out the gate, this Zealot is making its way across the map. There is a Marauder and a Marine at the top of that ramp, so if the Zealot does decide to poke up there, he's going to have some fancy footwork. And here we go, hacking with the SCV, just does yet 1 hit off. No concussive shield just yet, as this is very early in the game. And just taking a little bit of damage, actually. All the shields peeled off it, and quite a bit of health. So, a bit of a scouting Zealot, if you will. Second gases go down as well as the gateway for Grubby.
Yes, and we have a second barracks up for Fenix. He's not putting a tech lab or a reactor on it, so it can only mean early game pressure. That's why you get those Marines up here. 1 SCV does fall. Looks like a Hellbringer from MechWarrior, actually, as it dies.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. I referenced.
I actually loved that game as a kid. Dude.
Pretty good game, man.
Good times.
But we see now finally 3 Marauders out. This is going to be a little bit of the timing. I would have actually liked... No, 3 is actually correct. 3 Marauders come out. And Grubby, I don't know if he's going to be prepared for this. He only has 2 Stalkers, 1 Zealot out as we speak. Robotic Facility and a second Zealot on its way. But it's not going to be able to deal, I think, with this Marauder play. It's going to be very difficult.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, if he handles this well, he can be just fine. He does have to back away. Oh, a Stalker just get caught. But then... Actually, in Fenix's own moment of indecisiveness, he is able to elude that force Now, these Stalkers able to run down these Marauders, but with good micro, which we're actually seeing out of Fenix. A couple of Warpins who come in. Probes joining the force. Grubby pushing forward, and a couple of sentries. So this army might be abandoned here, and there's a force field. Actually, Fenix kind of knows what's going on. Another
nice force field.
Down. Sentry will go down. Both do. Wow.
That's a huge hit for Grubby. Grubby cannot lose these sentries. And now Fenix keeps up the pressure. There is one Immortal in queue right now. It is being chrono boosted, but Grubby is scrambling quite a bit.
Look at this micro by Fenix doing an excellent job. All the pros coming off the line. And Grubby, I hope you had your coffee this morning, because it would appear Fenix is not waiting, buddy. He's coming after you. And this single Marauder's just chugging along. A couple of probes do swing around to block off its exit. And I know an Immortal is out now, and that means the party is over. The Terran guy's got to head back home. They're like, whoop, cops are here, / Immortal, we got to get out of here. And they're going to head back home just as such. Now, if you look at the income tab real quick, throughout that whole thing, Grubby was able to maintain an equilibrium with his harvesters and that of Fenix's, so not a huge economical loss there. But one of the tales here is that Fenix's tech is far and away more advanced. We do have medevacs already of cable being produced, but of course, as I said, it is swapping for that tech lab.
Ooh, so a little bit of a transition. I do, well, I would like it if he gets a Raven. I don't agree if it's going to be a Banshee.
You disagree, huh?
But you like the Banshee?
Well, you know, I think there's so much application to it. It is certainly going to be late. This observer is getting here. It's absolutely going to see what's going on. But the Banshee, it acts kind of like a medevac minus the units in that you can't really leave your home with a Banshee out there, because it'll just show up and kill 5 probes and then go away, you know?
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem I have is he knows that there's a fast robo, and he's going to have this observer out immediately. He knows where to search, and he sees this. He's going to see this immediately. And if he loses these 2 Banshees, or if they do get under heavy fire, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And Grubby, look at this.
I like that.
Taking the 9 o'clock expansion, and that is going to give him a much safer expand. However, it's a little bit more prone to harass.
Seen by that tower in the middle of the map. And here's why I like that. If you look, there's an SCV in front of Grubby's base. It is completely, as far as he's concerned, it's like a 1-base aggression type of thing. Banshee actually goes right down the middle of the map, doesn't even bother to kill the probe on the tower, so Grubby couldn't have had this more broadcast than he does. Now, what I think Fenix is doing is the timing. Oh, of course, as I say, the command center does go down. But Banshee Bio is very potent. Now, Fenix is going for the double attack. Banshee is attacking the tower. Bio is making its way to the front of the ramp. But with that Sentry and Zealot heavy army with the Immortal, I feel like he's equipped to handle this, or at least repel it.
I completely agree. Now the Colossus is out. Additionally, a Sentry and a Zealot is warping in immediately. And I think Fenix doesn't really have the timer for this. This Colossus is too strong defensively.
He's going to head home now. I was like, he moved into running position below the ramp, and I could see him like stretching out his arms and legs. He was like, okay, guys, you ready? And then he saw the Colossus, like, nah, never mind. I'm good. Next week for track practice.
And now we can see 2 Banshees out on the field. Cloak is not researched or up right now, but I like this transition. He's actually going into Siege Tank and Siege Mode. Back on the production tab, we can see Siege Mode is being upgraded along with 1 Siege Tank is coming out. So I like this. He's keeping up the pressure. But the problem is he thinks his opponent's only on 1 base. That's why he's defending up so much. That's why he's getting that Siege Tank Siege Mode up. Still, it's going to have a lot of utility later on.
Yeah, and the Colossus, I gotta be careful. A couple of exchanges there, does do some damage to that bio, and Fenix just wanted that pile undead. Tried to do it with the Banshees, no success. Banshees sweeping around here. They're at the back of the mineral line, and now their presence is being made known. Going ahead and harrying that mineral line, and here come the Stalkers. Again, there is no blink. There's not really a longevity to the strategy. Actually, 1 Banshee does go down, a little bit careless. Not quite sure I like that exchange. Now, the Thermal Lance is being upgraded, right?
Not Thermal Lance.
Thank you, buddy.
I found that out.
Yeah, I did some research on that one too. And I like that. A lot of people are going to look at that and say, well, why do you get 2 Colossus in no range? Actually, 1 Colossus with range does not hold off the bio attack. 2 Colossus absolutely does. So, Grubby playing pretty safe. I even like that he hasn't transferred probes to this base. It does function as a hidden expansion for right now. Fenix has got a weird sense of comfort right now, knowing that he's like way ahead. But if this game goes any further, he's actually going to be in for a rude awakening.
Yes, and we do see that. I think Grubby is going to be preparing to push out pretty soon.
Oh no, Fenix Fenix finds it. Boom.
Hello.
Hello.
And Fenix has to push back a little bit. Now, this is the great time to actually probe transfer. However, there is one medevac with 8 Marines coming over here to deny this expansion for Grubby. So Grubby is not going to be liking or seeing this expansion very much longer. A probe transfer, as I said before, is going down as we speak.
These positions are really hard for this because he can't bring his whole army over there. Not only is it far away, but it opens up his main to counterattack. So Grubby just has to warp in, losing some probes here, kind of a late reaction. And Fenix, you better know it, he's poising, and actually that pylon goes down. Okay, there is a pylon over there. Grubby bringing his probes in there, but they're all going to die, so the damage is done, this is getting out of hand.
Yes, and you know, Grubby cannot push into this natural. Look at this natural, actually. This is such a sick defense. 2 bunkers and additionally the siege tanks that give him just the power of this defense. And now another drop is coming to the bottom right. And meanwhile, I think the Nexus is going to live. Yes, it will, very easily.
Yep.
But all the units are out of position. These 4 medevacs, they can, or the 4 Marauders can do a lot of damage right now.
Yeah, they do it real fast too. The army is out of position, as you noted, and here we go. Marauders do touchdown. Let's see if Fenix can delay this Nexus as well. Not much of a reaction from Grubby. Okay, there's the cancel, so he's just going to go ahead and salvage the situation as best he can. Now, quick note on Fenix's composition. We do have tanks entering the field. There are 4 in siege position, or siege mode, excuse me. Lots of Marauders. He's a very Marauder tank heavy, means you're doing a lot of damage to armored units, but actually it's a very zealot heavy army, so kind of look to see how that pans out, if at all. Now, Grubby is in trouble economically. This expansion over here has been kind of starved and choked out a little bit, but I do like his army composition. I'm not, I mean, we're one bad attack away from Fenix losing this game, is the bottom line. This Colossus do a lot of damage fast.
Well, the biggest problem for Fenix right now is his mobility. He cannot scale too effectively. He needs to just do one big push and hopefully win it. But, you know, Grubby's army, it can definitely elude Fenix's entire army. We can see harass on the barracks and the factory up here. I like this harass.
This is an overreaction, kind of silly. Fenix bringing his whole army up there. He's got to be careful. Actually, it looks like Grubby needs to be a little bit careful, but unsiege those, and if Grubby catches you, that's a lot of units lost. I mean, with this bio ball tightly packed like that, and it's actually fairly Marine heavy. I mean, it's mostly Marauders for sure, but that's still a lot of Marines. We're talking, I think that's 23 Marine. No, that's 4, 8, 12.
It might be the big engagement right here. But siege tanks are going to come into position. Finally, moving in. The Colossus are going to immediately target the Marauders. I think they need to target the tanks, though. And this is not looking good for Grubby.
No, he pushed that way too far forward. I mean, this great Colossus micro, though. And actually, Fenix might have, whoa, got to be careful. Fenix might have tried to push that issue just a little bit too much. Both these armies look like shambles. You know, they're shadows of their former self. Now, Grubby is going to go ahead and take this time to throw down his Nexus, and I think this is aptly timed. Fenix is churning out lots and lots of units, but it's mostly bio. Now, he did load up that drop, and it did head to the top of the map, so keep your eye on that. That's 4 Marauders. There is a pylon at that expansion, but if it goes down, that's the reinforcements for that base. So, pretty tense moment here. Vikings now being produced, and we do have armor upgrade going down for Fenix, which will make him at 1-1.
But we can see, I mean, Grubby really likes this type of play. Blink and the Dark Shrine going down. And we can see a couple of these units are going to be caught out of position.
I don't like that by Fenix. That was silly.
Yeah,
and look at that blink. Nice. And
taking out 2 medevacs.
Yeah, killing those medevacs delays that attack tremendously. In fact, Fenix has got to be careful here. He's moving this bio right now. Here's that drop. Zealots warped in.
Insta.
And they will be able to hold this off. Marauders actually do so little damage to Zealots. That will be a nuisance. Now, interesting to note here as well, Fenix did take bottom right, and that is a base that they share in these close positions, but it's kind of, I guess you can call it a little bit of a hidden expansion. I mean, if the Pro player doesn't destroy these rocks, he will not know about it for a long time.
Yeah, it can be very dangerous, and I like this. I mean, Fenix has just slow pushing, actually expanding to the top middle.
I love that.
He's being very daring. Very daring.
Make it an orbital command, too, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, Planetary Fortress has a lot of application there as well. And there's this Marauders, again, with a little bit of harass. Love this Fenix play. It's all over the place at once. And here we go. Well, actually, nope, never mind. That's just my brain farting just a little bit. So it will be a Planetary Fortress at 12 o'clock. And it looks like Grubby might have sniffed what's going on here. He is going to destroy, or he's at least in position to kill these rocks. Now, the problem is, that is a planetary fortress. And jokes aside, one thing that the planetary fortress does do for you is it stays alive a long time.
Yeah.
So if you don't have this massive, well-upgraded army, that is a nuisance. And actually, Grubby is just sitting on a 1 weapons attack and only 3 Colossus, so this base will stay, I believe, for a long time. And look at Fenix taking this position.
Yes, and Grubby is in a world of hurt right now. He just realizes that the push is coming up, and now gets spotted with that Dark Templar, so the Dark Templar is going to have no application at all. But I like this. Grubby just placing 2 Stalkers back here, being a little bit annoying. The Vikings are over. Oh, nice blink, and going to be able to pick off a couple of these Vikings. 2 Vikings go down. But, you know, just the girth of Fenix's army, I think, is just so strong right now. Grubby needs to catch all of his units way out of position if he wants to bust all these tanks.
Colossus, careful! What are you doing? Why are you walking up there? Oh, okay, kill a tank. The Vikings moving in trying to pick it off, and they do take some more damage. I mean, one thing we can say, looking at this, Grubby has phenomenal army control. He is spending all his money. If you do look at the income tab, though, well, no, there's no Velo there. I guess they're both producing harvesters at kind of a weird rate. I mean, there has been a little bit of harass going on. Bottom right does get cleared out. Bio Army does force those Stalkers off that mineral line. Now, Grubby's in a bit of a pickle here. He is contained.
Yeah.
And without Immortals to kind of tank a lot of the damage from these tanks, I feel like it's a bit problematic as far as upgrades are concerned, as well as just another Colossus coming out. But it looks like Grubby might have an idea of what he wants to do here. Trying to pick off some of that bio, exchanging a few shots. Meanwhile, a drop is going off with that expansion again. I feel like that's the same Marauder Force. Maybe it's not.
No, it's a new Marauder Force coming in, and now the Medevac's just going to keep that same dynamic up and keep that pressure on so that Grubby is on the back foot. He has to warp in units outside of this contain, which is a little bit problematic because they can always get picked off and they always need to stay there. We can see a little bit of harass on the right-hand side for Fenix. But Fenix, I mean, his position just speaks so much because this is probably the best position you can be in as a Terran against a Protoss.
Grubby's a little agitated. I feel like there's some activity. There's the Guardian Shield. Is he going to go for it? No, not really. Kind of a weird exchange there. Again, the Marauders have returned. Actually, they've got some friends with them. And this could be a tough spot for Grubby. He is focusing down that Nexus. I feel like it's going to go down regardless of what gets warped in. And that is certainly one of the legs off of Grubby's force. Losing that expansion is really bad, and it's caused a reaction here. Army moving to the right side, going to go. Well, nope, they're going to peel back, maybe trying to incur a reaction here. But Fenix playing so patient.
Yeah.
And I think that's smart. He has to know his way ahead.
Yeah, this is the best part about Fenix play. He knows sometimes when not to be aggressive, and that's the mark of a really strong player. We can see Fenix just comfortable. He has 4 base. He knows Grubby doesn't have anything, so he's saying, why do I need to engage? Why do I need to incur any form of damage when I can just sit back and let my macro take over, get to that 200 army, and just be super efficient against anything that the Protoss can throw at me? And that's what we see. Grubby trying to, just sort of incite, or no, trying to get a battle to go on, but Fenix won't have anything of it where he's in bad position.
Yeah, a little bit of an exchange again at this left side. Grubby is just desperate to get a base going, and he is able to finally clean up that last drop with the help of a DT and a Zealot. Charge has finished. We're waiting on Psionic Storm, and this is a bit of a mistake. Actually, Grubby is just now warping in those Templar. I'm not quite sure if he understands. He does not have Khaydarin Amulets. It no longer exists, so we're going to have to wait. And actually, he might not even be waiting. Here's the Guardian Shield. The Army's going for it. There will be no Psionic Storm. And I don't know.
Just going to be pulling back again. I don't like that exchange. I don't like that exchange from Grubby. Grubby really needs to be careful. He needs to retain all of these units, get that death ball that Protoss normally has, and just push out like that, because that's the only way he can come to win this game. He can't expect to just regularly push out and start macroing, and everything will be fine. We can see this Nexus needs to come up ASAP. And I like this. He's just going to put pressure on that Planetary Fortress, but he needs to be careful because there are Vikings coming over here, and these Colossus are vulnerable.
Yeah,
nice blink.
The trap is sprung there a little bit. I think he was anticipating that, but I agree with you. It was kind of I mean, maybe he just knows the timing really well, but he was late to get over there. And here we go, trying round number 2, maybe 5, I don't know what this is. Charge lots moving forward, getting some of that friendly fire. Colossus have not absorbed any damage just yet, which is great. And there's that Colossus damage, and the bio is stacked on top of each other. Big storms, and they all go down. Where is Fenix's army? It's down to these Vikings. And Grubby's got to get those stalkers on him.
Yeah.
He's not doing it. And he peels back, but I feel like that was his time to shine. It's one tank and a handful of bio over here.
Yes, and do keep in mind, Fenix's production isn't overwhelmingly large. He doesn't have a ton of units.
Oh my gosh.
And if Grubby gets in here, he can actually potentially take this game by just shutting down, all of these. Oh, that's a huge pickoff.
Vikings. And Fenix has loaded his army up and is dropping the left side. I think we just got done complimenting his passive play, but here we are. I think he's dead. If Grubby gets up this ramp, his Colossus walked too far forward. One goes down almost for free.
Thor is out.
And that's the production line. So, I mean, if Fenix can't get stuff out, he's dead.
Yeah. Fenix is in a lot of trouble. Now we can see SCV's trying to do something.
Back.
But this is not looking good whatsoever for Fenix. Fenix, in the blink of an eye, loses all of his production, and it doesn't look like he has much left. He has nothing on ground. This is so bad for Fenix right now.
I know. Things are coming out as fast as they can, and they're just dying. But here we go. A little bit of a surge of units. Marauders move forward, instantly snipe the Colossus. They needed to do that. Grubby has got to reinforce. I'm looking at Warpins at his home, and he's not bringing them over. This still might just be too much. And there's the GG!
Oh my god!
Fanatic Fenix was sitting on 5 base and has fallen to a Protoss player. He might have had 2.5. We can call it at the end he threw up a couple of bases, but he was half the bases the whole time.
Oh my god. I mean, there's no need to overexpand like that and not get your production up. I look back at the end. You cannot have 6 barracks and be off of 4 or 5 base. That is just unacceptable. You should be at the rate where you're at around 12, 14 barracks. That's the good amount. But him staying on that was just way too much. There's no need to be at such a low production with such a high economy.
And I'm going to confirm it. I'm actually loading the replay and speeding through it as I speak, but I feel like part of the issue for Fenix too was his harvester count was fairly low. I mean, we checked it was at 55. Yes, that was earlier in the game. So I just want to verify before I kind of throw a guy into the bus, but if you're not dropping mules, if you're not building SCVs, if you're not saturating all those bases, then they're just bases, which is good. I mean, it's great. You can saturate them, which is strong, but notice the word can. I don't feel like Fenix had... I mean, because one of the things I'm checking is he did not bank a lot of money. I think he died with a couple... maybe a couple thousand, which is, again, that's a mistake, but it's not like he had 8,000 was max the whole time. He was very slow to get there, and like you said with his production... But how many times have we seen this? It's almost like in the North American Star League, it's like we're bringing this on ourselves or something like that. But the Protoss army gets in that production line, and I don't care how far ahead you are. Yeah. Or even Nada's game when he dropped the production in that TVT.
Yeah. Same thing.
I mean, that's a really important thing for people to see.
Yeah, of course, you don't want to put all your production units in the same, or production buildings in the same place. But on top of that, it's just, I think it was Fenix's blunder, actually, just to not have the production to keep up with the economy he had. He definitely had the economy to support more than 6 barracks, but I'm sure I'll wait for you to confirm. There were just like more factories, additional factories coming out, but still, factories take a long time. Yeah, it was very late. He was
literally on 5 bases. Yeah. He had the main, the natural, the island expansion, the 12 o'clock, and he was taking the natural for the 12 o'clock. If you want to like split hairs, he was sitting on 3 expansions the entire game, whereas Grubby had a Nexus kill on the left side, he had his natural canceled, he was, I mean, it was absolutely incredible, and that's a huge upset. Fenix just got done crushing Kiwikaki, one of the best Protoss in all of the world, really, something we've talked about many a time, and here he is facing Grubby. LOL. Are you ready? LOL. Well, maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm looking at... Okay, so we're almost done. Here's the big fight. And no, he's got 75 harvesters.
That's fine. Again, there's no reason why Fenix should have not had those productions.
Did not produce enough.
Ultimately, he lost because of that. So unfortunate for Fenix, but congratulations to Grubby for taking the first win of today. He's going to be going into the second game against Fenix. It is going to be on Terminus Re, so a little bit of a different map. Going to be much larger. We're going to see how these players duke it out on there momentarily.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be game number 2. The map is Terminus Re, with Grubby leading 1-0. And no, I did not just misspeak. Not this time, ladies and gentlemen. Grubby is actually up 1-0, which is awesome. But you know what?
He was up 1-0 last time, though.
He's actually, that's the point I was going to make.
Sorry. I stole it from you, sir.
It's cool, man. Great minds think alike. For you. He was not favored against Moon. Moon was probably considered the better player as the pro, the S-Class pro. And yet he fell 1-2. So I actually kind of have my fingers crossed. Not necessarily because I'm a huge Grubby fanboy, but if I was, who cares? He's awesome. But it sucks so bad to go up 1-0 2 weeks in a row and then lose. That would be bad.
You know, I am quite conflicted. I mean, Fenix is my teammate. I love the guy so much.
You're not trying to tell me you're biased, are you?
No, but dude, I love Grubby just as much.
I felt like you were going to get biased there for a second, and I was going to have to remind you.
Are you kidding me? I'm the least biased person,
okay,
but I love when you play.
Well, I feel like when I play, it's just the same as everybody else.
Amazing?
It's the same. Everything's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on anything.
Actually, you know what's awesome is that Chill from Team Liquid caught a little bit of flack for having like an opinionated cast as well, because it's weird. Casters have opinions. And so what he did is he parodied the situation and he recasted a TSL match, excuse me, and he did it in neutral tones, like the whole time. He was like,
I heard it.
This may or may not be a good choice.
SCV's mining. SCV's mining.
Yes.
SCV mining.
So kudos to Chill from Team Liquid. He's a moderator there. He's also a commentator for the TSL, does a fantastic job. Check him out at teamliquid.net. But enough about that. Let's get into the game here a little bit. Now, Terminus Re, we've talked about this. This is the big macro map. Grubby in his PVT will be starting off very normal. Gateway, gas at 15, all very standard. Fenix starting off exactly like he did last game.
Yep. Chrono boost being used, pylon being made. Probes. No, I saw that. I was hysterical. I'm sorry to belabor that point, but yeah, we do have Fenix doing, again, the 16 orbital command center. He really likes this. When I say 16, I mean he gets 16 SCVs instead of 15 SCVs, and goes directly for the Marine. So a little bit of a difference. I got to actually talk to him about that because I think he's wrong.
So you can't say that. You are a pro gamer, so a lot of people are like, don't ever tell him he's wrong. But you know what? They're on the same team. They're actually working to get with each other to optimize their builds and play, so very normal. Kind of cool to even hear that. Tech Lab does go down on the barracks, and I gotta say, I'm anticipating, well, okay. Last game it was like a 2 barracks into fast tech into expand. This game I'm anticipating a faster command center than perhaps the tech and bio. We'll see though.
Yes.
Certainly the aggression is viable here as well.
But proxy pylon coming out for Grubby already, so he does have really good position. And I think Fenix is trying to get into position to see if there is anything going down, but he's not going to have the range to see that.
But again.
Additionally, there is no chrono boost being saved up for Grubby. He spent them all, a double to the gateway and the chrono boost. So we could be seeing a 3 or 4 gate, no gasless, I should say.
Oh,
and
the
SCV
probes
goes
get
down.
themselves a kill. They're pretty happy about that. They've spoken probe. Them and R2D2.
Oh no, looks like
I mean, this is looking like a 1 gate expand.
1 gate expand.
Yeah, with the money stacked out the way it is. And okay, there goes Fenix with the command center as well. So both players thinking along the same lines. In fact, if you look at the minimap, they almost look identical. They're basically doing the same thing. Second and third barracks do go down for Fenix. We're going to have to go ahead and see where Grubby opts to go. But I got into space. What's that?
There's an engagement coming.
Not good for Grubby. What are you thinking, Grubby?
Oh no.
You got to be careful. Okay, so no concussive shell. That's what he was thinking.
That's the problem. Alright, so the lack of shell actually costed him 1 Stalker. He could have gotten a Stalker for free, but of course he is up a Zealot currently. And both of them, I love this play, they just take these Zelnaga towers. Now, it's just to gain a little bit of map presence, not going to give them map control, but it just tells them, okay, this is when some pressure is coming in, this is when... They're just trying to be ambiguous with their builds. Both of them don't know each other are actually expanding whatsoever.
Well, it's really important. I mean, if you know nothing's on your half of the map, you can spend that extra little bit of money, that little pinch on a probe, or a pylon, or an additional gateway. But if you're in the dark, there's a part of your psychosis that says, well, what if? What if he's coming right now? You know, of course, a lot of people are going to say, well, they don't see the whole map. They might still be thinking that, yes, but it's varying degrees, right? If you know you're half the map, you're safe. Then you have a buffer of time that you can macro up a little bit. So it's really important to control those towers. Now, conversely, if you control all the towers, you actually force your opponent into that position where they're like, well, what if? Why does he have all the towers? What can I do about it? And that does a lot of favor. Now, that pylon actually will go down, so Fenix, good scouting there. I actually didn't check. A little bit of a blunder on myself. I apologize, but I was wondering if that tower actually revealed the pylon, or if he just scouted it out.
I checked it before.
Okay, cool. You got my back, buddy?
I got you, bro.
Blood Brother 1?
Blood Brother 2.
Appreciate that, man. Now, both players, again, very similar, and this is actually pretty standard. If you look at Fenix, he loves this. He loves his micro with the Bile. He really likes to pick off those Colossus and kind of dance with that gateway army, and he loves the Medivacs, and rightfully so. He's a big dropper and a big micro, like I just got done explaining. So I think we're going to kind of see more of that out of him.
Yes. So where can both of these players go right now? Fenix is looking to just be massing in the Marine Marauder army. He has to stay a little careful. He wants to apply a little bit of pressure to keep his opponent in his base, and on top of that, be able to scout. Dropship play is a great way to scout, where you don't have to spend your scans, or your potential mules, I should say. Yep. So he's looking to drop. Meanwhile, if I were in Grubby's position, I would just defend up, get a lot of gateways, maybe 5 gateways, and go a Colossus route, and just get your expansion very safely.
Yeah.
And with the 5 gateways, you can actually get a ton of gateway units for a defensive position. You don't have to attack, just get that defensive position, and you're going to be really, really sound.
And it looks like he's listening to you, buddy. Robotics Bay does go down, just kind of probing up, if you will. And his standing army is not that fearsome. A little bit of his space in his main, anticipating that very Fenix play, if you will, with the Medivacs and kind of the assault on the front. Fenix loves that kind of play. Grubby going to make a little bit of a poke here. Late reaction from Fenix, but he is pushing forward. Doesn't like what he sees and backs away, and rightfully so. Lots of Zealots to go ahead and run down those Marauders, as well as Stalkers. Really, there's no escape there if you engage. So he's both guys are going to preserve their army in that way. Now, Fenix does have some Medivacs out. Usually the first thing he does is load them up with units, or at least move towards the front of his opponent's base, because he knows that for right now, he reigns supreme. When that Colossus gets out, or those force fields are able to execute, that's when he's disadvantaged. But for right now, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, this is a very important timing for Fenix. Just needs to take advantage of the fact that he has Medivacs out and nothing can contest him. Going to take map control immediately, which is denying all the Xel'Naga towers. That's the most important thing. And as soon as he does that, then he has the ability to drop. But he can't do it before he takes control of the Xel'Naga towers.
And look at Grubby. You can tell he's done his homework. This observer out here looking for that Medivac. He knows it's on its way. He did see the army transversing the map. Right, very well placed. And look at this. Fenix might actually spring himself into his own little trap. We'll see how well Grubby executes. So he doesn't have a lot of units in the area. Only 2 Stalkers and a Zealot. Colossus is out, but these Medivacs are fully loaded. 4 Marauders and 7 Marines. They are now here. 1 pylon will fall victim to this. Grubby's got to be careful. Moving too far forward, he might be donating units, and there they go. Meanwhile, frontal assault and the Colossus a little bit exposed. Okay, no, never mind. The Colossus does have support. But Grubby, actually, I feel like he's underappreciating this attack. Big warp in. Lots of Zealots are here. And actually, wow, look at that.
Picks up.
Fenix respects, man. And you know what? Perhaps rightfully so. Zealots actually do a lot of damage to Marauders when they get into those close proximity.
Yes, he has to be very careful. Again, it's not too heavy on the Marines. He only has 6 Marines out now and 4 Marauders. But again, if Fenix loses or exchanges, it gives map control over, or at least the ability to get map control with a push from Grubby. So he has to be very careful not to lose.
That's not something you see too often.
No.
Most certainly a mistake. Fenix, again, lurking around the outskirts of the map, and actually there's an observer out there. Very nice play by Grubby, spotting this out, and these Medivacs will be dropped directly on top of a Protoss army. He's got to focus on that Medivac, and it looks like he is doing that, and one does go down, a huge hit, and he's not targeting the other one, but there's just enough stuff here, so he's got to be careful. Meanwhile, an army is just outside his natural, and actually...
Grubby,
no, Grubby, be careful.
He doesn't bring all of his units. He's just going to rely on the warping in units. Now we can see one Colossus comes in here. Fenix trying to poke in this front. And I love this. Grubby actually counterattacking that front army.
Oh, nice.
Force shielding a couple of units. He got half of that front army, and now he killed that back end as well. We do see a couple units are left over. 2 Marines and 3 Marauders. On top of that, I mean, Grubby, he is behind economically. We can go on the income tab. 53 probes to 60 SCV 61 now. So Fenix does have his third base additionally. His income is just about 50% higher than his opponent. And I think Fenix is in a great position. He has 6 barracks right now, and I'm sure from last game he's going to be adding quite a bit more than he did last game.
Fool me once.
Fool can't get fooled again.
There you go. Now this medevac is still lurking around in the southern region of Grubby's main. One thing to note here, he does only have 2 probes on that assimilator, and that's one of the issues actually with this harass heavy play, is you can force mistakes like that. Now that's not the biggest of deals, but do pay attention to that, because as that develops throughout the game, it could have a more lasting effect.
Yeah.
Grubby is clearing the destructible rocks in the middle of the map, presumably to take his 4th, or at least planning for the 4th later. Grubby is doing a nice job scaling his production with his expansions. We'll see this base does finish here momentarily, and with it a pair of gateways, as well as Templar tech going on in the main base. Actually, I do see the archives and double forge. So a lot of activity productivity-wise, and that's not just the action. Bit of an army moving to the middle of the map. It's a small bioforce, but it's actually paired with a pretty representable Viking force and a drop in the main.
Drop in the main and in the second natural, I should say. The main does look like it's going to be quite cost efficient. Getting on some probes, going to be killing quite a few of them before it gets cleaned up. And these gateway and the Colossus.
The drop just returns. Up in the natural, only 1 stalker left to guard, and it actually obviously dies immediately. Probably a little bit slow to the reaction. I really feel like he needs blink. These drops are just kind of, well, they're economical. I mean, to say the least. They touch down, kill a few probes, and then they're out of there. Drop back at the main. And again, that second natural, okay, we'll call it the 3rd base, did get canceled. Big feedback on the medevac, but because it's been so busy healing, actually didn't take too much damage. This is sitting at 39 health. And again, Fenix was doing a nice job. And okay, yeah, there you go. You called it, buddy. Double factory being put down. The production is certainly
He's
there.
Like, not this game, man. Not this game. I am ahead.
I think it's 8 barracks in the main, actually. He's got so much production.
Yeah.
All right, well, he's, good for him. That's making the adjustment on the fly.
And, rightfully so. Fenix is looking very much ahead. He is at just about max, whereas Grubby feels like he wants to push out with only 143 supply. And Fenix still has his drops in the top and the bottom
and
of
only
his
defensive
base.
Templar, worth noting, too. He does not have any Templar with this army. I know these European Protosses love Colossus Templar, and why not? That sounds like some kind of sick joke, but it's real. The drop is returning, and it does get sniped in the back of the main. Meanwhile, Fenix, I feel like, has the dominant army, and he's going to assert himself. Go ahead and cancel that 4th Nexus, and that will happen. Meanwhile, a drop at the top natural, and that actually does get thwarted fairly easily this time, as well as the medevac. So, drops getting cleared up. Fenix slipping on his execution just ever so slightly there, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but right now I think Fenix wants to engage. Now, in PvT, and you're in this position, Fenix is at just about 200, Grubby's at 165. If you wait as the Terran, it only gets worse for you. It cannot get better.
That's true.
Just because the Protoss gets a better army composition. Their synergy is much better. So Fenix really wants to push in right here. And now, gonna be feedback.
EMP gets all the Templar. No Psionic Storms today, ladies and gentlemen, but that is a lot of warping coming in.
And there's still a good amount of Colossus. 4 Colossus up, and now going to be shelling away on this bile. Oh, I don't like this force field positioning, but I think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, Colossus going down really fast.
Oh, the Colossus getting destroyed, dismantled by these Vikings, and finally Fenix just swoops in and is going to take all of Grubby's army, and Grubby this time has no way to reproduce any of this army to deal with Fenix, and Fenix, I think, is going to take game number 2 very convincingly.
Look at how red they all are. If that EMP doesn't hit those Templar, they're dead, and that's the difference in this game. So huge EMP, MVP class EMP does go down. A couple of feedbacks, that's really non-consequential, and there's the GG. And Grubby does fall in this second game, so the series is now tied up. Now, Fenix, we talked about how in that first game his production wasn't up with his gameplay. In this game, he made the adjustment, and he just washed over Grubby. I mean, I thought it was kind of an awkward angle that they both fought at. I think it was favorable to the Terran player just because those Stalkers were never able to kind of do enough damage to the Vikings to slow down their onslaught. And without those storms, man, Fenix looked fearsome.
I mean, the biggest thing was Fenix didn't overexpand this game. He got the production and scaled that with the amount of economy he had. He played much better and was able to max out. The first game he didn't max out whatsoever on Shadow Temple. And second game he was like, oh, blink of an eye, I'm maxed, done. And, you know, as soon as he went and engaged, he was absolutely fine to go. And huge congratulations to him. So we do have the series tied up at 1-1. We're going into our game number 3. It's going to be on Crossfire SE, Terran vs. Protoss. Let's go ahead and get into it after this short break.
Okay, and there's the countdown. This will be game number 3 on Crossfire. Map we have seen before. Now, a lot of the problems we talked about with this map, I guess you can call them problems, are tanks and Colossus.
Yeah.
Both these guys have them at their disposal.
You know, we saw Fenix do a really nice tank play last time on Crossfire SE against Kiwikaki, and I have to believe that he's going to be doing the same exact build, as it yielded him a win pretty decisively last game. Got that nice contain. I'm really interested to see how Fenix goes about this, or excuse me, Grubby goes about this game, as he has a little bit of data from Kiwikaki versus Fenix. So if he uses that, I'm really interested to see what he has prepared. I would really like him to do a really good build that a certain Jeff In Control Robinson did, where he goes 3-gate into Colossus.
Yeah, it's just unavoidable how strong both those plays are. Yes, the Marine tank timing is very strong, but, I mean, even as you saw in my game against Ensnare, all I had to do, well, not necessarily all I had to do, but what I did do was use my sentries to slow down that push. Because you're not going to have a Colossus out at that time if you've expanded, which you should have. So you need to throw it up at the ramps. There's these choke points in the middle of the map. All those things kind of scream, I'm slowing you down.
Yeah.
And I think it's up to the Terran player to recognize that and say, okay, my timing's not really here. Let's go ahead and fall back and macro up and use this army a little bit later. Because with Vikings, tank Marine is still super, super strong. But, I mean, if you don't have any answer for those Colossus aside from, I guess, a couple of tanks, you're in a tough place.
Yeah, I have to agree. And we can see Fenix is doing his regular build, going the slightly later gas, now just putting up the gas. So I can expect him to be doing the same exact thing he was doing last time.
Both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, both of them love their builds, man.
Yeah.
And Chrono Beast being used. Now, the thing about Fenix's build is that I think, again, it is kind of vulnerable to Colossus. Actually interested, does that build that you did before have a follow-up if he just sits and masses up on a lot of tanks? Because I have a feeling if you just mass up in a ton of tanks, you're going to be really cost efficient with the incoming army, because always you have these little tiny chokes.
Well, the Protoss has a few answers to those tank-heavy compositions, but it's really important to be executed, I guess you could say, to each their own, in the sense that if you go charge lot, for instance, you're trying to engage when they're unsieged, or at least very spread out, so that you can incur that friendly fire and get inside those tanks' range. You also have Fenix, which I feel like is the best answer. They close out the Viking, but then also can Graviton beam, I suppose we can call it, the tanks and lift them up and out of the battle, so that once the ground army has been cleared out, those tanks can be handled individually. And I feel like those are some of the best answers. The last one is, of course, the Immortal. But the Immortal's problematic in the sense that with these tough corridors, if they get focused down or they just don't have a good angle, for their cost, they don't do enough. So the nice thing about all those is that they require micro, they require decision making, and they only work in certain places. So it's going to be a question of, can Grubby force that issue and get himself in that place where those responses are equitable for him.
I see. And we do see that Fenix is getting a great scout with that one SCV, able to stay there until the Stalker comes out, which is pretty standard, but I think the biggest thing is he sees, hey, no second gas, and it really limits the tech of his opponent. Now Grubby putting down another gateway, and it looks like a third gateway as well.
3-gate expand, I would assume.
Yes, but not going to have a lot of sentries, and I'm kind of worried about that.
Yeah, I personally opt for the double gas variation so that I can have more sentries than anything else.
Yeah.
Which allows me to say, okay, if you're making a bunker, I can at least force field it off, or if you have more than I can handle, I can keep you at bay. You know, Grubby, a seasoned player, a fantastic player. He does know what he's doing. Without that second gas for as long as he has, he does have more minerals at his disposal, so the expansion can go up faster. He can get out more heavy-hitting units like Stalkers and Zealots. And that's exactly what we see Grubby doing, making his way across the map. This little probing Stalker is kind of checking out the layout of the map. Zealot on the tower now. We do have to be mindful of the fact that Warp-In is now kicking in, but a sentry, actually it looks like he might end up running into a Stalker here. Pretty good for Grubby. But he does see a probe leaving that base. Now that doesn't seem like that eventful of a moment, but oftentimes the Terran players can interpret that as, you're coming out here to be aggressive with me, aren't you?
Yeah. And also Stalker from behind, so Grubby just checking everything possible. I don't know if he's going to be going for this destructible rocks back here. It's very well could be a potential for him, so he could be busting these down, but it's going to take a very long time, as these rocks have 3 armor, so these Stalkers are only doing what, like 11 damage?
Yeah, not a whole lot. It will take a long time. The thing, though, is that Fenix does not have vision of that. If you check his vision right now, you'll see he doesn't see those rocks. Now he does. Okay, he's probably heard something going on over there. Moving over there. And with that tank, he'll be absolutely fine. But also, the nice thing about this for Grubby, though, is that it does kind of create well, he's got to be careful. He's taking some damage from that tank. It does open up another possibility, so he can force the Terran player to build another bunker, or build some more depots in strategic places, that kind of stuff.
And not only that, it says, oh, well, you have a tank out this fast, or you only have one tank. You can kind of gauge where or how many tanks his opponent has. I really like this from Grubby. However, you know, he is a little bit prone. If he walks up here, he can be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and he just saw the full composition of Fenix. Pure Marine, there are actual tanks in there as well. But look at his map vision. I do want to draw attention to this for a second. I like these proxy pylons. Top left might seem frivolous, but it lets him know about bases. Probe in the front of the base. He did actually see the expansion, so he knows this composition. I mean, and actually, if Grubby has done his homework, which it kind of looks like he has, this is the exact build so many Terrans do on this. The double reactor barracks and the tank. Now, Fenix is playing a little bit more passive, which is actually, if anything, to Grubby's favor, because I don't like how little sentry he has and how late Colossus. Still no robotics bay. He's getting an Immortal out, but you really need the Colossus out super fast with that many Marines.
That's the only way you can deal with the Marines. It's very hard unless you have the sentry count, but the tanks just clamp down and make it such that you can still shell out a ton of damage, even if you have sentries and force shields and guardian shields. So, I don't know. I think Grubby really needs that Colossus, as you were saying before, and this one sentry being really bold. Just going to move out here and be like, no.
Little sentry that could. And SCV does go down the main mineral line of Fenix. A little bit sloppy. Not the biggest deal, obviously, losing a single sentry like that, or SCV, but it could have been avoided. Now, Fenix doing kind of a weird thing. His whole army is
coming back.
Okay, I was a little worried there. Like, that'd be such a silly way to lose this game. But, I mean, Grubby is poised. Oh my gosh. These force fields. These force fields go down all the Marines! Well, not all of them, excuse me, just like 1/3 of them. And I don't like it. Oh, the Immortal's got to be careful. It does poke forward, and I think it does some structural damage to that tank, but then backs away. And here's that delay we talked about. Now, the robotics bay is almost finished. There's the ramp. And, okay, well, never mind. Grubby knows exactly what to do here.
Yep, and Grubby's just going to buy himself as much time as possible. As time goes on, this Marine tank army is actually much weaker. And we can see it's forcing, oh, I love this. It forces Fenix to siege like this. And the medevac, I thought the medevac was going to go down.
Yeah, he's got to be careful.
But, you know, it's just going to be slow and treacherous.
He's going to have a lot of time. He should have out 2 Colossus by the time this makes it over there. And again, for those of you paying attention, look at how Marine heavy this is. If you focus down those Marines, 2 Colossus will evaporate that many Marines. Now, the other thing to look at here, too, is how many tanks. We are sitting at 5 tanks, which is quite a few, so we do need that Immortal to walk forward. And the ball. Actually, I'm going to stop commenting on this because Fenix is doing such a great job getting forward, but no!
Ooh, no! He needs to back up. The sentry goes down.
He might lose the Immortal. No, okay, it does avoid its own demise. Single force field goes up just to give some... if something was in the teeth of the Marines, they could look into the reflective nature of that force field and check it out. But that's pretty much all it does. So the first Colossus is out. Lance upgrade has been initiated, and the other Colossus is about to finish. Fenix being very careful here.
Oh, and, needs to back up.
Oh my gosh, gotta be careful that. Oh, that Colossus needs to be so alive when the fight comes.
And this is exactly what, this was his last force field that he had. He has no other position where he can really force field and being too cost efficient. He's waiting for his other Colossus to come up. Now starting to engage. I'm not sure if I like this. Fenix in a great position, picking off this Colossus. It does look like it's going down. And with that, all the rest of his ground army, Grubby trying to grab his third in the bottom right-hand corner. But I don't think that was the right decision. He really needed more units. And now the big push comes in. Siege tanks get into beautiful position. And these Marines are just being a great tanking, like just taking the HP, not the tanking units, because the tanks are the tank. Well, depends what you consider tank.
Cut you off there. Not to be rude. Just saying tank too many times. But Fenix is just locked in here. And look at that, Grubby's army is wandering forward, taking some damage unnecessarily. And I think Grubby's time is here. Fenix did such a good job with this patient push. And I wish I could make this more dramatic for you guys, but he is so entrenched. It would take a Kiwi-Kaki miracle for him to get out of this, and I don't see it happening. Of course, if it were to happen, it would be the Fenix somehow. Bunkers are going down. Very smart, safe play. Meanwhile, an expansion is at the top right. A couple of Zealots are being warped in just to be annoying. And Grubby's going to hang in here. He does have lower right, so they are on equal numbers of bases.
And do keep in mind, he has Thermal Lance, too.
Yeah.
So that can slow down the Terran push quite a bit. It's hard to get into position when Thermal Lance, and especially the movement speed of the Colossus, you can't really take advantage of it too much. So I think Fenix now is just going to back up, take the expansion, play it safe, get to that 200, get more production.
And the Marines getting a little careless, trying to go after a pylon. Fenix. We just got done complimenting how patient and methodical you've been, buddy. You got to keep it going for a little bit while longer, so we don't look silly. Our young casting careers can't take too much of a bad predictions. Now, it looks like Grubby's just, I mean, again, he's just kind of moving in position, trying to get out here. He's in a bit of a pickle. He cannot go down and fight that fortified position. And now he knows that the gig is up on that lower right-hand corner base.
Yeah.
And look at this. Actually, Fenix, great information pushing forward. But the range on those Colossus might cancel out the space between the two. Momentarily, though, actually, they get out of there fairly unscathed.
We do see Fenix scout to the bottom right-hand corner, although he can't really do anything about it. I like this play. 2 Immortals and 2 Marines are going to come up and try to blindside these tanks. They're going to be a great way to deal with all these units. And finally, the units on the left-hand side get cleaned up very easily. Grubby does not have much left, as he's only at 91 supply to his opponent's 133. And these siege tanks out in the open, they're not looking too good.
Bioforce of Fenix does get thinned out, but the tank count is just too high. It's sitting at 7 tanks.
It's just too much.
Actually, the bunkers aren't necessarily even full, so I do feel like this could be cracked. But it's got to happen soon. Now, Grubby's expansion was delayed top right because of that pylon, so, you know, very nice play by Grubby executing that. And look at this, a bit of a split off. Fenix moving his army to this right side, but he's got to be careful. This Colossus can clean that up too. And nice force field from Grubby delaying this. And again, I feel like I owe Grubby and his family an apology. Talked about how dead he is, but looking at this, if he cracks this army, again, if we look at the productivity of Fenix, it's up there. It's 6 barracks, 1 factory, and a starport, but that's not that much. And bit of an altercation again in the middle of the map. Tanks pushing forward on that base. They're now hitting gateways.
No anti-air. There's no anti-air, and these Vikings reign supreme. And they could be taking off both of these Colossus. It's not good for Grubby. He needs to retain all of them as much as possible. And it does look one of them is going to be taken out, but just Immortals start streaming in.
Yeah, and a huge bio push is coming up the middle of this map, so I feel like the window of opportunity might be leaving us here. A small altercation going on in the middle of the map, and I'm just seeing blue streaming across. you know, Grubby's actually for the kind of a weird thing. He has his army split up in 2 different places, and both are like well equipped to handle each of these situations. Actually, like lower right hand corner is. Oh, DTs aren't even feeling in. This is the Blade Masters. Grubby is a fan.
Yes, and Fenix again taking a lot of expansions. You see the gold been taken right now, and the top left is being morphed into an Orbital Command Center. However, I mean, he needs to be careful that his production keep up. I like how he does have the 6 barracks
on those tanks
currently. And ooh, no
That's
scans
just
up.
it. They do unsiege. Grubby
has a really big timing if you choose to push out right now. And Fenix.
Oh, he's kind of getting what do you call it? Like routed right now. He's running away. And Grubby might collide, but that's just a small fragment of his army. Choosing now is that moment of indecisiveness is really going to cost him. He stuttered there for a second thinking about it, and I feel like that hurt him. Big force field goes down, but it's misplaced, and the bio streams up. Grubby's trying to swim in from the back, but this is his last expansion, and I feel like even if he cleans this up, he's just taking too many losses from the probes.
Yeah.
And it looks like Grubby's days are numbered for this series because Fenix again is
might
doing
be able
too much
to
damage.
clean this up. The one Colossus, the Colossus is getting shelled out really, really hectically. Now these Immortals and the additional Dark Templar will be able to clean everything up. But you can see the probe saturation is very minimal, 31 probes to 48 SCVs. On top of that, we can see that the production...
Wow. 11 kill DT top left.
Ooh, wow.
There's been some little bit of damage going on. I mean, it is a planetary force at this high yield, and a missile turret is going up. So, as far as Grubby's concerned, that base will become God. It's going to be invincible, untouchable. A lot of DTs making their way around the map. You can kind of see them creeping and crawling around, trying to do as much damage as they possibly can. And that is one of the ways to crawl back into this game. In fact, it's making its way to the top left to go ahead and try to snipe that. But I think Grubby's in for some bad news. We do see him scouting out with his whole army, which, yes, ladies and gentlemen, he has 2 Immortals and a single Stalker.
His whole army
literally
pushes out. Oh, and it looks like the other half actually came back from home, 2 Sentries and the Zealot. So they're going to see each other.
And there's the bad news. They see the high yield.
Yeah.
So DT does get away with 1 health left, but it is a sad, sad day when you find the Terran player sitting on a high yield expansion and you can barely afford an Immortal.
Yes, and we can see the bottom right expansion still hasn't taken that gas. The natural is trying to get up, but Grubby, for all intents and purposes, is only on 1 base. We can go to the income tab, 740 to Fenix's 1500, and I love this. Fenix saying, I'm gonna mass up in stuff. I'm just going to get a lot of stuff and shove it at you.
You want to play super safe in this game 3.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no reason why he should be losing out on this. But Grubby playing phenomenally. He should be doing this harass. He should be doing this guerrilla warfare. That's the only way he can get back into this game.
Well, he's trying to buy himself some time. The Temple Archives is going to complete right now. But that tech tree requires time. I mean, you could not make more of a statement with that. The Archives takes time. The Templar Sonic Storm takes time. When you warp in Templar, they need time to warp in that mana. And in fact, that's exactly what he's going to do. He's warped in Templar already, even forming an Archon immediately. He just needs anything to get down here. Now, he did have a lot of gas and less minerals, so I think that was a good choice. But there's a drop swinging around the right side of the map, and that expansion is completely undefended. And just the raw production of Grubby means that I think this base is in for a tough time.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to deal with this as the 2 medevacs do get into position as we speak. Grubby insta pulls them off, and a little bit.
And another attack at his natural too. Fenix is just in too many places at once, pushing forward. Archon does do a fantastic job of shelling that damage, and it looks like Grubby will thwart that and is making the best of the situation, moving to this left side of the map. But the Nexus is being focused down. I feel like it will die regardless of the outcome of the actual fight. There we go. The Nexus has been finished off. Vikings do get picked off, but it's just too small a force, mostly Sentries. And Grubby moves forward in a terrible storm, avoids the brunt of that army, and it looks like this should be it. Colossus does go down in a firestorm. There's the GG. Grubby will fall 1-2 to Fenix, and Fenix moves on to be 2-0 in group number 1.
2-1. Yes.
Well, in the group, he's 2-0.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize
for
being stupid. I shouldn't even contest anything you say. But yes, Fenix takes the series 2-1. He's going to be up 2-0 in the group stages. And, you know, it was a bit rocky game 1. Because Grubby, I thought he was behind that whole... Well, he was behind that whole game. He made this brilliant push. Was able to break his contain and just go straight for the production. And Fenix played that. I think he lost that game more so. And then game 2, it just played into Fenix's hand. He had tempo, he had unit control, he had all those drops, and it was so efficient. Game 3, I think it really spoke for Fenix. He had complete tempo control the entire game yet again, and that's where he plays optimally.
I mean, the tough thing that kind of goes on behind the scenes, and for those of us that are watching this, please do mark this in your memory, because Grubby will lose. He's 0-2 in the group, but he's lost both of them 1-2 to some of the favorites of the group. Fenix and Moon are two of the best, and I feel like the poor guy, you can definitely see his experience holding him back, or lack thereof, I guess is what I'm trying to say. He is executing very well. He's got some great strategies. His build's pretty refined. I like that 3-gate pressure. I mean, the sentries came out at phenomenal time. He had as many force fields as he could possibly want, so it's pretty optimized. But just that little something is missing from his play, because I feel like even when Fenix made a mistake, Grubby wasn't there to pounce on it. He did the first game. I will give it to him there. I mean, and obviously, Grubby is a world-class player, so he's able to do those kind of things. But I feel like with time, the Grubby we're seeing now and the Grubby we'll see in maybe week 3 or 4, just a little bit of time, a little bit of practice, a little bit more experience.
I think he's going to shoot up, man.
He's going to turn some heads. So keep your eye on that Grubby.
Again, his theory the entire game was pretty strong. I think it's just his build, his experience needs to get up there. Like, Fenix just has so much time to prepare. He's had a lot of tournament experiences, whereas Grubby, this is his first major, well, this is the first major tournament for a lot of people, but this is his first major tournament.
Assembly. He went to
yes, that's right. Yeah. Excuse me.
So a little bit of experience, but he needs more, that's for sure.
Fenix, though, he's had the main stage. Of course, he has tons of top-level practice.
Yeah.
So he came out the better player today, but I'm definitely looking to Grubby for future weeks to just play exceptionally.
So congrats to Fenix from Team Fnatic MSI. He is now 2-0 in the group. He did win 2-0 and 2-1 now, so 4-1 overall in his games, but dominating fashion, taking out Kiwi Kaki, and now Grubby. His TVP looks to be quite fearsome in this Division #1 group play. So look to see him in the future. So I stumble all over my words. Now we're going to move on.